And McBride, first of all, thank you for speaking with Central Coast newspapers once again, and congratulations on your win in Dobell. It must feel good.
It is such a relief, and the seat of Dobell is always a tightly run contest, and going into the day, as I said to you before, I was quite nervous, but just really relief to have seen that the support that the community has given me and the confidence that they've put in myself and Dr. Gordon Reid in Robertson. And we're in the situation where we now have Labor representation across the Central Coast. Pat Conroy in Shortland, myself in Dobell, and Dr. Gordon in Robertson.
That's wonderful. And look, I'll be quick off the mark and ask, what are your priorities now that you will be in government? What are your priorities?
We absolutely have to hit the ground running on the Central Coast. We have a large and growing community with a backlog of infrastructure. Housing affordability is a real and growing problem. The cost of living is something that is affecting most people, families and businesses. So yesterday I spoke to Rick Hart, the Council Administrator. I've spoken to Alex Zielinski, the Vice Chancellor of Newcastle University. I've spoken to Paula Martin from New South Wales Business Chamber. There's so many people that I have immediately got in contact with. The Chief Executive of Central Coast Local Health District. There's so many pressing priorities to be able to clear the backlog of infrastructure, boost the local economy, to create good quality local jobs and improve our health services.
Well, collectively I saw you match the $40 million commitment for local roads. We're all suffering under local roads. Some of the small roads around the coast are really turning into mush, aren't they?
They are. We've got 2,200 kilometres of local roads here on the Central Coast. They weren't built for the volume of traffic that we have today with our growing population. We're expecting more than another 70,000 people on the coast by 2036. So yes, we will see $40 million go directly into local roads. We also nationally have topped up the fund. The government had topped it up by $500 million. We've topped it up by another $250 million. And the real priority of that local community regional infrastructure fund will be for regional areas like ours. So we will see those local roads improve. They have to. That their people are concerned about their safety, wear and tear on their cars, and being able to get around easily on the Central Coast and ease congestion.
One of your big commitments was to do in health, and particularly this concept, I can't recall what you call it, but a
urgent care clinic.
Yeah, a care clinic. How far and how quickly is that going to happen, do you think?
I've spoken to the Chief Executive of Central Coast Health already, and Dr. Gordon Reid and I. Gordon, having been an emergency doctor at Gosford, at both Gosford and Wyong Hospital, and myself having been, the chief pharmacist at Wyong Hospital, we have such a key. Well, for us, it's urgent that we see people be able to get the health care they need. And the urgent care clinic, someone will be able, Labor has committed to 50 of them across Australia, and we'll be making sure that one on the north and the south of the coast is a top priority for incoming Labor government, so that people can get health care affordably close to home when they need it.
Well, you previously had, the previous Labor government had GP super clinics that was meant to alleviate that idea. Have they worked, or are they still working?
We have seen some success with GP super clinics now at this point in time. The urgent care clinic is a model that we have seen that's worked well in other states of Australia, and we've seen it work well in places like New Zealand. So where somebody can, with their Medicare card, can walk in and get that on-the-spot care that they need, which means that they don't have to wait to get into their GP, whether that's days or weeks, or end up in the emergency department in an already overstretched hospital.
Now, I know over the years, so the last 6 years, the NBN and the problems with the NBN have been something that your electorate office dealt a lot with. Michelle Rowland, presumably your new communications minister, has committed to a lot more. I think it was 40,000 or so new fibre to the premise rollouts in there. Do you think that will solve some of the problems up here in the business parks and the outer suburbs of your district, of your electorate?
Absolutely. We have had hundreds of complaints through this electorate office since I was first elected in 2016 about connectivity, about dropouts. And this affects, businesses particularly, but it also, when we saw through the pandemic, people who are working or learning from home, it became such a problem that was front of mind for so many people. What I'm disappointed about is Labor's original plan for the NBN. If that had been rolled out properly, by the now former Liberal government, we could have seen such advantages and uplift in our economy on the Central Coast. So this is a chance now for us as a community, as an economy, to really see that boost that we need.
And onto other things. Are there any other immediate things that you're going to hit the ground running with?
Well, the first thing that I have been doing is thanking people. It is genuinely humbling to be elected by your community, a community that I grew up in. I mean, I grew up just around the corner in Wyong, and my high school is just across the road in Tuggerah. To be able to represent the community that I've grown up in, that I care so much about, is a real privilege. So to your listeners and to your readers and those who've supported me, and also those who have a different view, my goal from the outset has been to make the Central Coast a priority and the national agenda. And now we have a really strong opportunity to be able to, as part of an incoming government, to make sure that the Central Coast is a priority, that we're not overlooked as we have been for so long as a place that's, stranded between Newcastle and Sydney. That should be an absolute advantage to be situated between two of the biggest cities in Australia. And to have a strong and thriving university that feeds, research and ideas into our community, to work closely with the business community. Definitely, small and medium-sized enterprise on the Central Coast underpins our local economy and should be properly boosted. So I spoke to Frank Zammit this morning about the Food Innovation Hub at Lisarow, and his board met yesterday about it, and they are so keen to be able to see that project accelerated, so that we'll be able to see that 285 jobs, including in construction and ongoing. And what I think is really, for our community, the prospect where we can have food manufacturers from the Central Coast, not just, having a presence nationally, but globally. We've seen through the pandemic that Australia is seen as a place of quality manufacturing, particularly of food and beverage. This is a real opportunity for us to capitalise on that and really be a launchpad, not just nationally, but globally.
So a food-led recovery, as it were.
This is the thing on the Central Coast. We do have a really strong presence of food and beverage manufacturers. People can list them, whether it's, Sanitarium, Sara Lee, East Coast Juice. We have from small to medium enterprises to ones that already have a footing on a national scale and are already exporting globally. I think this is one of the really exciting opportunities for our community and for the economy.
Now, you said we were stuck between the two big cities, and I have to ask about the PEP 11, that's the Petroleum Exploration Limit Licence 11, and your leader's commitment to stopping that in its tracks. Are you still committed to it?
Absolutely. This is something that I have been fighting alongside our community for such a long time. What was exasperating was that the Resources Minister, with a stroke of a pen, could have ended PEP 11. PEP 11, a petroleum export permit allowing oil and gas exploration just a couple of kilometres off our coastline, is a risk to our marine life, to our coastline, and to our way of life and local jobs. So much of our local economy relies on our natural environment, tourism, hospitality, retail. It's something that should not be jeopardised by a risky project like PEP 11. So absolutely, PEP 11 is off the table, as it should be. And I know that our community will be very relieved by that.
Well, we noted that Central Coast newspapers followed very closely. We noted that all of the coast of the PEP 11 now is either Labor or Teal independence all the way through, and to a great surprise, Jason Felinski has been taken out of Mackellar. Do you think the PEP 11 project had a standing along those coastal communities?
I think so. I absolutely think so. I think that people are definitely, voting according to what matters to them. And in communities along the coastline, this was an issue that was front of mind, as more broadly our environment and climate change is. And when you see many of these teal independents in previous election campaigns, they would have sat squarely within the Liberal Party, but they've found themselves outside of the Liberal Party, and their communities have voted in support of them. And I think this is something that the former government really needs to look at, because the community's views have shifted and public sentiment has been expressed at the ballot box. And it's something that for communities like ours, most people in Australia live on or near the coast. And our environment is something that is critically important to us in our future, and it's something that I think many people will feel relieved about now, knowing that the change of government with a strong change of priorities, that this is going to be front of mind for this incoming government.
And the last obviously big movement is the movement into Parliament of Women and women's values. You must be pleased that so many of these independent women are in the Parliament.
I think that it's just so welcome to see our Parliament reflect our society, and to see such strong representation of women in the Parliament. And I know that in our caucus now, that I was talking to Tanya Plibersek this morning, our spokesperson for women, and she was very pleased to let me know that now in our caucus we've nudged over 50%. And this is something that a goal for so many women and girls in our movement, we've been working towards for decades. And to see that took for us to be able to realise that, I think it really gives hope to so many women and girls across Australia, that they know, having seen a Prime Minister like Prime Minister Gillard and a spokesperson for women like Tanya Plibersek, that there are increasing numbers of women that reflect them, that represent them and their views, and that will be strong spokespeople for them.
So is that the first time in at least the Australian caucus history, if you want to call it that it's over 50%?
From my conversation with Tanya this morning, I believe that it's that we've now been able to, we've always been working towards equality, and to see that we've now tipped it, that is something that I think for us is a first, and I believe for the Parliament maybe also.
All right, well, thanks again for speaking to Central Coast Newspapers.
Absolute pleasure, Dave. Absolute pleasure.